The Houthis once again attacked Israel. Israel acted to stop them. At 2:30 a.m. today, air raid sirens wailed across central Israel. Iran's terror proxy in Yemen, the Houthis, fired 2 ballistic missiles. I was one of millions of young and old people who ran to a shelter. Israel's air defense intercepted the threat, but falling debris destroyed a school. Israel struck Yemen less than an hour after the missile alert. Israel disabled all 3 Houthis ports used to import the Iranian missile they fired at us. In fact, Israel's jets were already on the way to take out Houthi terror targets. Why? Just days ago, the Houthis already attacked us with a ballistic missile and a terror drone. Days ago, the Houthis also attacked a U.S. Navy international shipping. The U.S. struck the Houthis too. The Houthis have fired over 200 ballistic missiles and 170 drones at Israel since October 7th. The Houthis say, "Death to America, death to Israel, curse be upon the Jews." We know that they mean it. Our defense minister told the Houthis, Israel's long arm will reach you. The Houthis and their Iranian overlord should know that we mean it. Hamas is being dismantled. Hezbollah's leadership was pulverized. Iran's air defenses were destroyed. If the Houthis or anyone else tries to hurt us, Israel will end their ability to do us harm. The whole world will be safer as a result. You can thank us later. In other news, Human Rights Watch is lying to reframe Hamas's genocidal October 7th war as a genocide of Gazans. Human Rights Watch claim Israel is blocking water, but most Gazan water is, in fact, from inside Gaza. Well, that's absurd. Here's what you need to know. Gazans have lots of water. Human Rights Watch is lying to empower Hamas. Over 90% of water in the Gaza Strip comes from inside the Gaza Strip. Israel only ever supplied less than 10%. Even so, Israel runs 3 water lines into the Gaza Strip from Israel's water system. Hamas attacked water pipelines and electric lines running from Israel into the Strip. Israel's soldiers and workmen repaired the lines under Hamas fire. Hamas filmed themselves digging up water pipelines to use as terror rockets. 2 more water pipelines from Egypt operated for much of the war. Over 50,000 tons of water came in on aid trucks from Israel to Gaza. How much water do Gazans have right now? Northern Strip gets 170 liters per person. Central Strip gets 34 liters per person. Southern Strip gets 20 liters per person. International standards for conflict zones are 15 liters per person. Human Rights Watch has been lying about Israel for 20 years. Human Rights Watch raised money in Saudi Arabia to attack Israel while promising not to advocate for LGBT rights. Human Rights Watch was disowned by its founder for anti-Israel bias and ignoring real human rights violators. Human Rights Watch is not about human rights for Israel or Gaza. Now, let's take some questions from our audience watching live on social media.
Thank you, Maya. Our first question is from Instagram. Media is reporting that part of the Houthi ballistic missile is what destroyed the school last night. How can that be?
That's a great question. While the military is still investigating what exactly hit the school, but yes, there's always a chance of shrapnel or even a failure of air defense. Every attack is an attempt to murder Israel's people, whether they're at school, in bed, or even just walking down the street. That's why Israel is and always has been acting to counter these attacks that we've been under on 7 fronts by Iran and its terror partners, just like the Houthis in Yemen.
Our next question comes from Twitter. There are lots of reports about a hostage deal. What can you tell us about this?
Well, we're all hopeful for good news, and Israel's minister have said that a deal could be close, but a lot of the reports are from Hamas, and we should be very mindful of their cruel psychological warfare directed at us all. One Hamas report did mention that the desire to be sent to Qatar or Turkey That's very telling. Qatar and Turkey host Hamas leaders while working with NATO and the West. Please tell your leaders to pressure Qatar and Turkey to release our hostages from Hamas captivity.
Our next question comes from Talia on Instagram. How could Human Rights Watch claim Israel is blocking water in Gaza and committing genocide? Don't they know we can look up these numbers?
It's a great question. Listen, unfortunately, they're appealing to people who already don't like Israel and they want to believe the libels. Human Rights Watch and human rights groups before them have been lying about the Jewish state for decades now, while carrying water for Hamas and other murderers. The tragedy is that they've emptied terms like genocide of any meaning, and this is a term we should all understand the burden of and not take lightly. Not only do they strengthen the brutal terror regimes like Hamas, which murder people in Israel and in Gaza, but they also make it so much harder for victims of the world's worst human rights violators to get any justice whatsoever.
Thank you. This is our final question. How can I, as a non-Jew and non-Israeli, help stand up for Israel?
Well, first of all, thank you so much. I appreciate it. We're all grateful for our allies who don't have a direct connection to this fight. I'm speaking obviously as an Israeli and as a Jew, but I think that this fight should concern the entire world and is a matter of humanity. A really good example, which I just want to touch base on, is of someone with that doesn't have a direct connection and beautifully stands with us. And this is the Australian news reporter, Erin Molan. Erin actually perfectly explains that this fight is not just about Israel or the Jewish peoples. It's a battle for morality and humanity in the face of terrorism and extremism. So just like Erin, I urge all of you and all of our allies to be loud members of the silent majority who side with us and to please stand up and be proud that you're on the right side of history. So that is all we have time for today. Thank you so much for watching. And please remember, there are less than 2 weeks left to make your end of year gift. A generous donor, and I'm very excited to pronounce this, a generous donor is matching every donation up to $180,000. This way, you double your impact. So please support the Israeli Citizen Spokesperson's Office and help us to combat the misinformation, empower allies, and ensure Israel's story and the Jewish people's story is heard loud and clear around the world. Don't miss this chance because every dollar counts. Twice. Click the link in our bios and make your contribution. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back on Sunday at 3 p.m. Israel time, 8 a.m. EST.